Hello everyone, this is part 3 of What If Naruto Was a One-of-a-Kind Genius, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Iruka cut in an irritated figure with some frustrations leaking out of his ears in a cloud of smoke. His eyes were fixed to the menace that was in his class. A menace he was forced in his every day of life at the academy to teach. Not that the boy ever paid him any attention when he spoke. He'd thought he would be relieved if the boy wasn't taking any interest in his lectures, but it annoyed the crap out of him whenever the blonde spotted that look of pure indifference. There was even a day he had been tempted to run up to the boy and drag him out of his class by his hair. The thought had been crushed instantly when he thought of who birthed the boy. The mother would certainly kill him. Literally. No doubt about that. Uzumaki Naruto. Iruka couldn't even begin to remember the day the blonde had so even paid attention to his class. From day 2, the blonde had always put on a look of indifference, never taking part in anything. As much as Iruka wanted to throw the blonde out of the class, he couldn't do that. Not without a noteworthy reason. It would get him in trouble with the Sandaime. Not the mention that woman who would snap his neck in a mother fury. Iruka could remember the day he'd made a surprise test just to fail the blonde. Imagine his surprise, when the little irritation who didn't pay attention to his classes, managed to pass his test. Even though half of the class failed because the test was a difficult surprise test that wasn't meant to be passed by everyone. Loath as he may to admit, Naruto wasn't stupid, he was smart. It had pissed him to no end when the blonde had so graciously offered to set the test for him to make them a little difficult. That wasn't all. There had been a day he had caught the blonde looking outside the window. Not listening to him. He had inwardly smirked at the thought that came to his mind. Imagine to his utter dismay when the blonde had not even stuttered or even looked red-handed at being caught gazing outside the class. The blonde had so simply said, "I can't repeat what you said because I wasn't listening." Iruka had been left flabbergasted by the response. Normally a student would try to initiate something that he didn't say or try to make an excuse. But the blonde didn't try anything. He stated the situation as it was. No attempt to hide the truth. The blonde had made it clear to him that he was only in the academy because his mother had forced him and the Sandaime was blackmailing him to do so. To show how useless the academy was to him, the blonde had gone as far as to say he could do the graduate exam as he was, despite being in the academy for just 2 weeks. If Iruka had his way around everything, he would have just given the blonde the damn exam just so he could get out of his sight. Some teachers could just ignore him and the blonde would indifferently return the favor. But that was something that Iruka couldn't do. No matter how hard he tried. The other teachers have tried all tricks to get the blonde to be held back in his academics, but that was useless since he already knew what they taught. When it came to knowledge, the blonde had it in abundance. He had even found it bitterly amusing when one of the teachers came back to the staff room grumbling after he'd gotten into an argument with Naruto over the history of Konohagakure. It turned out that the blonde knew more about it than the teacher. Iruka sighed, and settled on the edge of his desk, looking at his students. No one was absent today, which was good. He didn't feel like teaching anything. Well, since they haven't been in the training grounds for some taijutsu demonstration, he decided it was best to take them there. "Okay class, settled down," Iruka said a bit loudly. Nobody heard the chunin, or they did just chose to ignore him in favor of continuing with the chatter. If Iruka hadn't become used to this familiar occurrence, a vein would have been throbbing on the side of his forehead right about now. Shut up. That touched the right spot. No matter how many times his loud voice did the trick, Iruka couldn't help but smile in appraisal of his kid's silencing jutsu. He always felt content and would smile happily when the jutsu did work its magic to quiet down the little ones. It was a pity to Mizuki though. The chunin couldn't do a better job than he did. Then again, Mizuki was just his assistant. Naturally, he should be the one getting things done quickly. "We'll be going to the training ground today for an exhibition on the academy taijutsu Mizuki has taught you," the chunin said. His announcement was welcomed with smiles by the students who would have anything other than his so-called boring classes. Yeah right. Iruka knew they loved him despite calling his classes boring. They just liked going out there as it was a place they could talk however they wished and they could also watch their beloved Uchiha beat up someone. Iruka failed miserably to suppress the urge to frown when he met Naruto's eyes head-on after his announcement. The look was still indifferent, the eyes still blank of any emotion, as most of the time. It really frustrated the Chunin that he could never read the blonde because he always hid everything behind that untouchable mask of indifference. "You're in trouble," Shikamaru muttered to Naruto, seeing the look their sensei was giving the blonde. While he didn't seem like he was interested, he knew full well that Naruto and their sensei had a rather rocky relationship, if their interactions could be considered a relationship. Iruka held something against the blonde. He was certain of this. But Naruto didn't seem to care. No, he just didn't care. Furthermore, he paid no mind to whatever Iruka had to say, and was willing to go as far as to brush off the Chunin. Naturally, that made the Chunin infuriated with the blonde. "It appears so," Naruto said. "I do wonder what sort of trick he has planned for me this time. Probably going to get you matched with the best in Taijutsu," Shikamaru said. If Naruto could get beat, it would embarrass him and force him to pay attention to class a bit. At least that is what he thought Iruka had in mind. It would also be some payback for the many times Naruto has had the class laughing at the Chunin. Iruka had it better though. The other teachers. Shikamaru shook his head. How he pitied them. Naruto was just downright blunt in his assessment of the academy and its education. He made no attempt whatsoever to mask his disdain over the curriculum offered. The fact that they taught simple taijutsu and offered no real training on the expectations of the shinobi world did no better. Shikamaru could concur with the blonde on that note. His father does tell him bits about the shinobi world and he knew academy teachings offered little comfort for what was out there in the wild. The ones who suffered the most were non-clan children, and those from not-so-shinobi families. Shikamaru didn't have to suffer because his father made him train his mind at home. He was learning clan techniques, so were other children from clans. The others weren't getting any training whatsoever and they continued to look towards the day they become shinobi with false expectations and blind hopes. Just thinking about it made the Nara heir sigh. Naruto snorted upon hearing Shikamaru's response. Like hell anyone in the academy could embarrass him. From what he has gathered so far, Sasuke was the top dog in the field. He knew the Uchiha better than anyone. Sasuke may be better than him executing that damned fire jutsu, the Uchiha has never beaten him in taijutsu, even when he does go easy on the boy, just so no to wound his pride too much that it will earn him a Sharingan enemy. "I don't have any interest in participating in anything. But I guess I won't have a choice if I'm forced," Naruto said. His eyes narrowed at the Nara heir. An idiot. Not the least. The Nara was smart, even some more than Sasuke. Naruto doubted he could win against the Nara in a battle of intellect. The only problem was that the Nara made no effort. He made no effort in anything whatsoever. Naruto believed the only time the Nara would get serious would be in life-threatening situations. "He will force you," Shikamaru said. At this stage, Chuji decided to partake in the conversation. "You should try to get along with Iruka-sensei. That will make your life a lot easier. You won't have to worry about him trying to trip you over. At least we don't have to worry about teachers because we won't be seeing much of them from next year. You just have to survive this year." "I doubt we are ever going to hug and kiss," Naruto said. "If I survive this year without suffocation by this environment, I will consider it an accomplishment." He suppressed the urge to frown from the knowledge that there was still a number of months before the year ends. "It's not so bad, Naruto," Chuji said with a smile. "You just have to loosen up a bit and you'll enjoy it as much as I do." That said, Chuji felt a sudden urge to fill up his crying gut with some chips. "Are you guys just going to sit there, or are we going to follow the others?" Kiba's voice sounded, breaking the three out of their little ice. "You seem a little happy. Feeling your luck against Sasuke, today?" Chuji asked, looking at the Inuzuka heir as he got up along with Naruto and Shikamaru. "Yeah, I have been training really hard since my last match up with that bastard," Kiba responded with all the confidence he could muster. Chuji doubted it would make any difference and Sasuke was anything but a bastard. The term just came to mind because Kiba was just an idiot before Sasuke's eyes. He couldn't fault the Uchiha for having such thoughts. It was improbable that the Inuzuka would do something genius in front of the Uchiha. Not when he lost the little rationality his mind has when he is one-on-one with the Uchiha. "I hope you do well if Iruka picks you," Chuji still said. Kiba just grinned. He knew he was going to do well and then all the girls would follow him instead of that arrogant idiot. He could almost see himself happily suffocating in the warm hugs and kisses the girls would be giving him. Shikamaru wanted to keep his mouth shut as opening it would rouse a troublesome dialogue with the Inuzuka, but he couldn't help himself. Don't dream too much, he said lightly, having noticed Kiba's dreamy look. Kiba scoffed. Shikamaru was incapable of doing what he could. Who was he to tell him anything? He looked at Naruto at the corner of his left eye, as opposed to responding to Shikamaru's light warning. Though Naruto could feel the look from the eyes of the brash and arrogant Inuzuka heir, he didn't bother to react to it. In his days being in the academy, there were some people that he would rather not befriend, especially stupid people. His mother may not agree, but what Kushina didn't know wouldn't hurt her. It may wound him a bit, but all reasons pointed that he was justified in his decision and that made him feel good. Shikamaru and Chuji were all right. They didn't bother with stupid questions. In fact, he could relax with the former while reading his book and the Nara heir lost in the mystery of the clouds above him. That was the perfect friendship. The conversations did carry some weight, and much more worthwhile than discussing which girl was hottest in their class with Kiba and other idiots in the academy. Although Kiba has been tempted to call Naruto an idiot in a couple of occasions, he knew better. The blonde gave the genius of their class a run for his money. Still, that didn't make him like the blonde. He carried him above others, almost like he was their superior or something. Well, at least he had something to poke fun about with the blonde. He wasn't going to start it now. The four reached the training grounds at the academy, with the others already in waiting. No need to be at the front to hear whatever the Iruka had to say. The four chose to stay at the back, wonder about their own business as Iruka started with his prepared short speech. Okay guys, today we are going to do some demonstration. I want to see if you have grasped the stances you have been taught. You are gonna have to execute the stances in a fight, Iruka said. First up, I want two girls to volunteer. The lively Ino Yamanaka was quick to take center stage. Another girl followed suit. This caused the class to form a circle around the two girls for everyone to see clearly. Remember, this is just a friendly spar. No need for anything harmful, Iruka said. He got them to do the friendship sign before getting them to engage. Begin. Naruto's look of indifference twisted into a look of disdain as his eyes were brutally forced to witness this shambolic chicken fight between the two girls. Really, his eyes were just screaming at his hands to pluck them out to save them from the horrors. How could academy kids fight so pathetic? It made watching turtles do a 80 meters sprint all fun. Even their teacher had the face to show his displeasure in the scuffle. It wasn't considered to be a fight. Not by any chance. 100-year-old grannies could fight better. Ino did win. Cheers to her fans. If it was a comedy show, Naruto wouldn't have been blamed if he had uncharacteristically thrown tomatoes at the two girls while shouting, "You suck." It was just horrible, and he felt relieved when they stopped doing whatever they were doing. It was even an embarrassment to think that Ino was associated with him and was a clan heir. What were these parents teaching their children? Ino walked towards Naruto as Iruka began talking once more, calling two more girls to demonstrate proper academy taijutsu. That was pathetic. If I was the one who taught you, I'd wish for an execution, Naruto said bluntly at the blonde-haired girl. Ino huffed. As if you could do better, she said. Seeing the look Naruto gave her, she huffed once more, pink tints on her cheeks. Naruto was a better fighter. She'd seen him beat bullies older than him. He took after his mother. I haven't been training that much, okay. I would be shocked if you said you trained at all. I think even a child who started walking a day ago can do better than that, Naruto said, once more bluntly. Ino glared at Naruto for his responses. She was used to it, but that didn't mean it made her smile when she hears of it. She was tempted to even curse him. But it wouldn't do any good. He was her Black Knight after all. If you think I suck that much, why don't you help me? Yeah, like you want to train instead of hanging out with your friends, Chuji said, earning himself a glare from Ino. But it was the truth. Hence the boy only shrugged. Looking back at the ring, Iruka already had Sasuke at his corner, his eyes looming above Naruto. Naruto, why don't you come here and spar with Sasuke? Naruto shrugged. I'd rather not, the blonde said. I insist, Iruka said rather forcefully. Naruto stood still. Kiba took the chance to mock the blonde. What? Can't fight without your mother cheering for you. Mama's boy. Naruto didn't look at Kiba, but he still responded, Kiba, regardless of what you eat and whatever possesses you, do not speak of my other. That said, Naruto went on to face Sasuke, who was smirking at him. How he wished he could just slap that smirk off his face in a second and go home to do something useful. I thought you were going to chicken out on me, Sasuke said with a smirk. Naruto wanted to frown. He took no joy in exchanging cheeky remarks with anyone. He could state his observations in the way they were without coloring anything, but an exchange of a talk like this wasn't what he came here for. No wonder he didn't like Kiba's company. Still, he resisted the urge to frown, and put on his indifferent mask, looked at the young Uchiha for a few moments before forwarding his eyes to the Chunin teacher on his right. Can we get this over with already? Naruto wasn't the only one who resisted the urge to frown, Iruka did. Ironically, it was because of the words Naruto had said to him. The Chunin teacher sighed before looking between the two boys. He knew that they were not hostile to each other, and mostly came to school together. Sometimes it was Sasuke's mother or Naruto's mother who came around after school, sometimes the two boys went home together. Still, they weren't exactly friends. Iruka knew that Sasuke wouldn't want to lose in this sparring session. There was no one who took his academy studies seriously than Sasuke. The Chunin thought perhaps it was because the boy was burdened with a lot of expectations. He was a brother to a prodigy, and cast in the shadow of his brother. Naturally, he has to put more effort in his work to step out of that shadow. It was a line of thought that made Iruka confident that Sasuke wouldn't play with Naruto, but would do exceedingly well to fulfill his expectations. The blonde had stolen the Uchiha's spot as the top dog in the last real test he had them right a few days ago. This was a chance to redeem himself. And Iruka had his fingers crossed, praying that Sasuke did so with flying colors. In his anticipation, Iruka decided to forego all proper traditions before a friendly spar. Begin, he simply shouted. Sasuke lost his smirk. He matched Naruto's mask of indifference as he readied himself for assault. His brother has always told him to hide his emotions during a battle, for that will make him difficult to read. He could never read Naruto, unless he decides to give out that look of complete utter boredom when the situation calls for it. The young Uchiha darted towards Naruto straight on. It was an impressive speed for an academy student. As soon as Sasuke reached Naruto, he jumped up slightly before twisting in mid-air. His right foot was sent straight at Naruto's head. The blonde jumped back slightly to avoid the kick that would have sent him to the side. As soon as Sasuke landed down on the ground, he charged at Naruto once again, flashed a left hook which was blocked, then another, blocked as well. He attempted a right punch straight at Naruto's face. The blonde caught the punch, held Sasuke's fist firmly, before his right foot stomped on the Uchiha's left. He then yanked Sasuke towards him and grabbed the Uchiha by his shirt's neck. I have been training longer than you have. Itachi may be teaching you Taijutsu, but my teacher is better than him in that regard. I have beaten you before, while holding back. Do you think you can miraculously do better than me, Sasuke? Naruto asked, in a low whisper, just so only the Uchiha could hear him. Sasuke gritted his teeth and tried to headbutt Naruto, but Naruto used his hold on the Uchiha to push him back while leaning back slightly. The fact that his foot was still on the Uchiha's made him off balance owed to his push. Naruto took his foot off Sasuke's, allowing the Uchiha to balance himself. The blonde looked up for a moment. Shall we end it? We have dinner tonight at your house. Sasuke winced at the thought. Their mothers would certainly go at it if one of them won. It didn't matter who won. Both he and Naruto would suffer from their exchange. Sasuke had seen it when Naruto got better marks in the first real test. Those women had made some sort of a bet, and it was downright annoying when everything became heated debate about who was better. Surprisingly to everyone around, Sasuke nodded. He smiled though, a bit forced. You owe me the next time we train with Itachi, he said before looking at Iruka. I guess you can call it a draw, he said before walking away. Iruka frowned, said nothing for a few moments, allowing the words Sasuke had said to him to play over and over again. He didn't get what he wanted. Frustrating. At this rate, Mizuki was going to have his way. If Iruka's hearing was working quite perfectly, he was sure he heard the Chunin say that he would get the blonde into the training grounds and accidentally hit him hard while teaching him something. Sighing, Iruka looked at his students before speaking, take an hour break. and be back at class after which, he said, a bit lowly, and walked away. Wow, I have never seen Iruka-sensei so down before, Chuji said, looking at the retreating form of their Chunin teacher. You really did a number on him this time, huh? He added, addressing Naruto. The blonde merely sighed, walking towards his favorite tree to do something useful. Shikamaru decided to return to class quickly to get some much-needed sleep while Chuji followed because his schoolbag was in class. His possessions were there as well. As he settled down beside the tree, Naruto didn't take out his book as he would have liked. He was faced by a mob of girls. He looked up to them. What? His tone was sharp. Stay away from Sasuke-kun, and stop trying to compete with him. You can never be like him or even better him. You're a nobody. How boring. To think that he had been made to come here to this place just to listen to this nonsense. Worst of all, to be creeped out by the fact that Ino hanged with such company. The girl was smart. How could she lower herself to bow before this crowd and follow the usual chants and parade? Naruto was certain that another reason Shikamaru didn't like eating with him at lunch was that he feared these fools. Apparently, everyone was afraid of the fangirls as they could do anything. He had even witnessed them give Iruka some death glares. Naruto wouldn't even be surprised if the girls plotted murder if someone made the prized Uchiha look bad. Naruto didn't fear them. They were just pathetic girls he could beat up with his eyes closed if they tuned on the violence volume. He has been in some sort of one-sided bad blood with them because of the perceived closeness to their Uchiha. His stating of the fact that they were going to have dinner at Sasuke's house must have been the breaking point. The blonde looked just behind the girls. Ino was standing there, looking conflicted. Naruto just sighed. He has ignored the fangirls when they turned their attention towards him. He knew it bothered the girl that she couldn't do anything. Well, she could. The consequences were just not good for her. Naruto took out his book, flipped it, opening a page before responding. I heard you the last time you spoke, he said. Now will you be kind enough to leave me alone? I can't read in peace while you're standing there. Are you dismissing us like that? Someone shouted. Naruto suppressed a wince the loudness of the voice. His eyes fixed on the girls. It was a rather stern look that clearly told them to piss off or else. They may be idiots filled with images of Sasuke in their heads, but they knew danger when they saw it. Heads held high, the girls walked away. Ino took the time to crawl beside her black knight. Once more again, she curled up beside the tree, knees pressed against her chest. I'm sorry. If Naruto thought he had no emotions or did not care for the blonde, then he had to crush this thought right away. It wasn't the first time that the girls sat so pathetically sad like this when bad things happened to him. It bothered him greatly. He wanted to pull his hair because he failed to understand why it bothered him so much to see her so miserable. I'm sorry, Ino repeated again, eyes locked down with the ground. You've always been there for me. Always. Whenever I call for your help, you always help me out. But when you need me, I can't do anything. I just watch, she whispered sadly. That miserable tone. He hated it. She never used it before the academy. You shouldn't bother with it. I can handle. I handled them, Naruto tried to be dismissive about it. I know you can handle them, Ino said. But you already take a lot outside the academy, Naruto frowned, and here, they still call you worthless, a nobody, a loser and other bad names. You're not worthless. Loath I may to admit it, you're just better than Sasuke. You're not trying to be like him or anything. You don't deserve it, most of all, he was her black knight. There are a lot of things that we deserve but never get them, Ino. I know, but I'm in a position to stop them from calling you unpleasant names they hear outside. I'm your friend, but I'm afraid to do anything because I might lose their friendship. I can stop it, but I'm afraid and I comfort myself by coming here. It even bothers me knowing that you can handle them, but can't stop them from saying whatever they want. Naruto frowned. He wasn't going to read his book. But that wasn't the problem. This kind of conversation he was having with Ino was the problem. Honestly, he hated being put in this kind of position. It bothered him. Ino worried because she cared for him, just like the Sandaimon Kakashi. Strengthening his mask, Naruto opened his mouth to speak. I cannot tell you what to do. But I don't need you to fight my battles. I can do that. On another note, what do you see them anyway? You're smart, they are not. You wouldn't understand. Ino said. I won't disagree there, Naruto sighed. Just don't worry about me. I can handle myself. What they say doesn't bother me. Compared to what he has taken from the villagers, a bunch of idiotic fangirls couldn't even as much as scratch him. He didn't spare them a thought. They were not worth it. It isn't a matter of whether it bothers you or not, Ino said. Why couldn't he get it? Your inability to do anything to stop the situation from occurring is the problem. Naruto said, eyeing the blonde briefly before looking into the empty space ahead. Finally, it bothered her because of it. Naruto has always helped her. She felt some guilt because she couldn't help him, especially when it was her friends bothering him. She should be stopping them. But she was caught between two things, and she didn't know what to do. If you don't want it to bother you so much, do something about it. Perhaps then you will feel better, and he won't be forced to go through another conversation like this. I'm not like you. Really. You've always been strong and head on. Was it all just a mask? Of course no. Ino raised a voice a bit. Her expression changed a bit as she carefully laid out her next words. How about I buy you ramen later on today? I know you love it. Just don't tell anyone. That's cool, but do you really think I will tell Sasuke? He doesn't even take interest in you. Nor even thinks of you, Naruto said, earning a glare from Ino. Trust me, I train with him sometimes, I used to live at his house. Don't you think I should know better? Think of something better to do other than fawning at Sasuke because he sees you as annoying girls. He will not notice you. Ino glared at Naruto. He just killed her mood. But she knew he should know Sasuke better. Speak more like that and you'll have that ramen on your own. Naruto gave a nonchalant shrug. I wouldn't complain either way. I do, however, enjoy the meal when someone is buying. So, I will keep it down. The blonde glanced at Ino for a moment, his expression a bit serious. A word of advice. Things start small, and eventually grow. Don't let your crush grow, Ino. You will turn out to be an annoying little girl and a failure for a Kunoichi if you grow up like this. Watch it, Naruto, Ino warned. Naruto just dismissed her warning with a wave of his hand. I wasn't done, he said. Ino, you're smart. Don't let this fangirl attitude consume your every thought. Sasuke is nothing special. You're something else. You shouldn't be throwing yourself like this, you're not cheap. If I had any interest, I wouldn't allow you to run after me, rather, I would run after you. That said, Naruto went back to his book. Ino slapped both her cheeks and looked away from Naruto. A few minutes later, the damn class once more again. What Naruto would give just to be locked away from this hellish academy. What has he accomplished or even learned that is worthwhile? To be more precisely, what has this academy taught him that will further help him keep his mother safe and his own life safe? The answer came quick as a striking lightning. Nothing. He had told the Sandaime of this again and again, but the old man and his mother keep telling him that even though he doesn't learn anything academically, the academy was still good for him. He had to make friends his age, they argued. Still, Naruto saw the glaring holes this time-wasting academy was putting into his usual training adventures. Oh well, he was here. There was no use brooding over it over and over again. The situation wasn't going to change. He wasn't going to go against his mother's wishes. At least on something like this. It sort of gave her hope that he could have a normal childhood. He was still young, and could still grow up with a few good friends. Naruto hadn't thought of that. The only perfect world he had thought of having was one with him and his mother. A bit bitterly, he used to wish for one with both parents. Make the best out of the situation and try to grow around it, he'd told Temari. But here he was trying to run away from a situation his mother had brought to him. Why couldn't he live by the very same words he preached? Naruto didn't like to believe that he was a hypocrite. Far from it. Application in this situation was just a bit difficult. But he understood that brooding over it would only make him miserable, and that would hurt his mother. Kushina wanted to see him smile and play with other kids. His priorities were ensuring his mother was safe and that she was happy. If he kept resisting, she would only frown at him. Naruto sighed, looking at the back of Ino, seated in the front row. There is time, he thought. That girl was troublesome though. Thinking about it gave him a slight frown. So Naruto shifted away from her. He hadn't been lucky to take off his gaze from her without notice. Shikamaru spoke, causing Naruto to turn his eyes towards the Nara air. You look like you're thinking deep, Shikamaru said. He was sitting on Naruto's right hand, at the rear row. His gaze turned towards Naruto's object of interest for a moment before lazily eyeing Naruto once more. You haven't told me, how did you come to know Ino? She doesn't seem to be like your type. Naruto gave a non-committal shrug. You didn't ask, he said. Right, Shikamaru said. He realized he didn't really want to know how the two met. Shikamaru eyed the blonde with a faintly curious gaze. Naruto noted, but chose not to comment on. The Nara weighed on his thoughts for a couple of seconds before releasing a breath. My father wants me to befriend you, the Nara said. It was easier this way than being sneaking about it. Naruto was too smart to remain oblivious of it. And it would be too damn troublesome to be caught in that situation and be forced to explain himself. Saying it now meant he didn't have to trouble himself with anything in the near future. If Naruto was surprised, he didn't show. His response didn't even strike a precise spot, it merely kept one guessing. I see, the response came easily enough. You're not surprised, Shikamaru stated. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, he added. Shogi at my house after the academy. You up for it? Why not? I could do something to sharpen my mind while killing some time, Naruto said. 3 hours later, Hokage office. The Sandaime Hokage smiled warmly when his favorite blonde walked into the office he has laid claim for longer than any of his predecessors, as well as his short-lived successor. Academy done for the day? Hiruzen asked. Despite his question, he knew quite well Naruto couldn't ditch the academy because his mother wouldn't be happy with him, if he did so. Naruto responded by giving the Sandaime a slight nod of his head as he made himself comfortable of the chair in front of the Sandaime's desk. He was rather pleased to see that Jiraiya wasn't present. The man was rather persistent in his hunt for some involvement in his life. Naruto reasoned it was better to let the Sannin suffer the cold winds for some time. He was smart enough to know that Jiraiya had his uses. If the man was willing to offer his help, who was he to deny it? The man was a powerful shinobi, one taught by the professor. Stupidity and ignorance would be the only substance that leads him to miss out on a chance to learn something from the man. Naruto looked at the Sandaime Hokage with a curious gaze. A brief flash of memories played through before his lips parted. I had a rather interesting conversation with Shikaku-san. Oh, no surprise was evident in the Sandaime's aged face, but the curiosity was hardly hidden. Naruto leaned back to the chair, stared into the eyes of the Sandaime, trying to configure his thoughts a bit. Yes, he said, taking a pause to think once more. I appreciated his honesty when I asked if you'd sent for him speak to me. Shikaku is good person. I've known him long enough to know he wouldn't lie, besides, lying would have been troublesome to the man, as he would say. If he figured telling the truth was the best option, then he would do so. The Sandaime had to keep his mask locked firm when Naruto's curious gaze fell upon him once more as the blonde studied him intently. He reminded himself that the blonde learned reading people. His mental defensives were always on check when he was around those curious eyes. It slightly bothered him that Naruto was never subtle when he studied you. You have really been pulling all strings to change me and keep me happy, Naruto said ever so calmly. What do you think is so special about me that you're willing to do almost everything to ensure all is well? I know you well enough to conclude that you're only thinking about the figure. Naruto took another pause, narrowing his eyes further when the Sandaime's mask held up. Is it perhaps something you fear? I would imagine that would be the case. The third released a long breath before relaxing. How bothersome that he had to be on guard against a 7-year-old. Why do you think there is something I fear, Naruto-kun? Sarutobi asked, his tone lacking any curiosity. By that Naruto assumed he may have been right. That I may perhaps leave this village with my mother if I believe it is good for both of us. The chances of that happening are very high, at least when I become strong enough to protect her. There is another issue of Danzo. Does it scare you that I may be tempted to join his brutal crusade in the hunt for power if he offered? Sarutobi frowned. Naruto was dead on. He really should have had Kushina restricted Naruto's entry to Minato's study. Then again, Kushina would have just told him about Danzo anyway. You may be right, the third said, not wanting to outright admit that the blonde was right. I just want to create a better and secure future for you, in this village naturally. I want you to grow strong and show Konoha that you're indeed a hero. Perhaps then they will accept you. I know what this treatment you receive has put a rather negative image not only on Konoha but on humanity. That would be because Naruto knew that Jinchurikis were frowned upon in every land. It wasn't just Konoha, but every other village. Konoha may be the one to have tormented him, but Naruto looked far abroad than just Konoha. Perhaps that is because he'd considered leaving this village. Negative image. Naruto repeated, looking to be in thought. I have asked myself this question. What if everyone else who hates me just disappears? Would I be free then? Would I be able to live in a hate-free world and walk along all streets without a heated glare trying to murder me? Do you know what the answer my reasonable mind gave me, old man? Hiruzen just frowned. The answer was obvious. An ideal world. Nobody could fault me wishing to be happy. A year ago, if someone had offered to make that wish come true, I would have jumped to the opportunity, Naruto said in an honest statement. This was why the Sandaime did everything in his power to make Naruto happy, why his mother pushed for him to make friends. Perhaps he would grow up with his generation in peace, and they would accept him. He wanted the blonde to see that there were nice people out there and that not everyone was bad. Itachi opened up a lot, and my mother always tells me to be optimistic and never lose hope, because once you lose hope. Naruto let the words hang, the Sandaime could figure out the rest. I have hope. Perhaps it is the only thing that makes me sane. Perhaps no, rather, the love for and of my mother. It is the fact that you still hope that I try to create a better future for you, the third smiled sadly. I fear I may not live long enough to see you laughing happily, but I still want to do something. I don't want to end my tenure without the assurance that I have done all I could. Silence settled in for a few moments. But it was broken when Jiraiya crashed into the office through the window. The Sannin seemed to notice that Naruto was in the office because he didn't say anything before he put on a nervous smile and spoke. Naruto, the Sannin wasn't sure himself if he was greeting the blonde or just calling his name. Naruto glanced at the Sannin for a moment. Jiraiya, his eyes went back to the Sandaime as he stood up. I better be going. As Naruto turned to leave, Jiraiya mustered his courage and spoke, wait. Can I talk to you, Naruto? His tone was almost pleading. Some other time, Naruto said. The remaining time if the day is reserved for my mother before we go to the Uchihas. You can talk to me when I'm available. That is, if you don't suddenly disappear. Jiraiya would have flinched, but Naruto clearly had no malice or hatred in his tone. It was just light and he felt as though he was merely stating a fact. For this reason Jiraiya just frowned, but nodded nonetheless. I will be around, he proclaimed rather strongly. Naruto stopped for a moment, turned around to face the Sannin. Jiraiya reasoned it was the firmness of his tone that caused this reaction from Naruto. The blonde looked at Jiraiya inventively. The Sannin noted it was possibly the first time that Naruto had really looked into his eyes. The blonde said nothing though. He turned around and soundlessly felt the office. Jiraiya looked at his sensei, that is a good sign, right? That depends, the Sandaime responded. Are planning on disappearing or are you going to stay grounded and take your responsibility? Uchiha compound. Dinner with the Uchihas. For Kushina this was always a pleasant time for her and she knew well enough that Mikoto enjoyed this as well. There was an unwritten pact between the Uchiha and the Uzumaki. The main family and the Uzumaki were family, not like family. They may not be related by blood, but they treated each other as family. It was for this reason that Kushina thoroughly enjoyed her time in these occasions. In one of those days, Fugaku had decided to join them. The Uchiha head didn't usually join him during the dinners, not because he just didn't want to. But the man was always busy with the police force and the council. In recent months, he hardly came back here. He was always locked up in his office at the military force headquarters. Naturally, Sasuke was sitting on Itachi's right hand with their mother on the left side, Fugaku sitting by Sasuke's side. On the other side of the table, Naruto was pleasantly sitting by her side, as always. So Naruto, Fugaku, started, looking over to the blonde, taking a temporary pause from eating his meal. Mikoto tells me you've been doing excellently well in the academy. Naruto gave a barely noticeable nod. That is the case, he said. His tone displayed no form of pride in his record. It was obvious he took no joy in knowing that he was doing excellently better than other students. Fugaku hadn't expected anything less from the blonde. He may be young, but he was an interesting child. He reasoned that losing a father the day you're born, getting a bayou sealed inside of you, and then subsequently hated by the village could change a person. Naruto aimed higher and the Uchiha head believed that the blonde would reach what he sought. He had the determination and the will to push on. Fugaku didn't want to frown at the thought of comparing the child of the Minato to his youngest son. Sasuke and Naruto were two different people. On his own right, Sasuke was a genius. Fugaku didn't deny that. This despite the fact that he rarely gave the boy interest. He reasoned that appearing uncaring would force the boy to try harder to surpass his brother. So far it has seemed to work, or so he liked to tell himself. Despite knowing that he was only stating the obvious and what everyone else knew, Fugaku didn't hold himself from stating it. You're not thrilled by it. Well, almost everyone, of course he is thrilled. Kushina butt in, a bit loudly. Right, Naru-chan. Predictably, Naruto's response was to smile warmly to his mother. Of course mother, he said. Itachi inwardly shook his head. He assumed Naruto was agreeing with his mother on a different note. While the glaring truth was that he wasn't proud of his achievements from the academy, Itachi could assume the blonde was still happy that he was proving him, the Sandaimon Kakashi, wrong. The academy couldn't teach him anything and he would do well even with his eyes closed. At least his presence at the academy gives someone Sasuke can compete with, Mikoto added, a little bit down. Of course she wasn't happy that Naruto was doing better than Sasuke. Not for the wrong reasons, but because she was losing her bet to Kushina, and the woman took glee in it. Fugaku nodded in agreement. Competing with Itachi isn't really fair for him. As much as he may try to be like his brother, Sasuke can never quite pull out another Itachi. Fugaku's words seemed to do nothing but crush the raven-haired boy beside Itachi. Even though the Uchiha head saw the deflated look on his son's face, he didn't bother trying to explain the meaning of his words to the boy. Noting Sasuke's despair, Itachi nudged his little brother a little, offering him a small warm smile. What father meant is that you don't think like me, you don't have my determinations, experiences that drove me to become what I have become. Because of this, you can't be another me. However, his smile widened a bit, it doesn't mean you can't surpass me one day. I know you will. That lifted up Sasuke's spirits. Once more, the boy beamed up, casting away the gloomy clouds above him that had threatened to drench him in cold depression. Mikoto smiled at her son as well. I also believe that you will surpass your brother, Sasuke-chan, she said warmly. I will not disappoint you, Okasan, Sasuke said, enjoying the faith his mother and brother have in him. I know you won't, Mikoto said. Sasuke looked at Naruto, gave the blonde a look that clearly said, hear that. My brother thinks I will surpass him one day, not you. So does my mother. Naruto merely shrugged in response, but that didn't deter Sasuke's spirits. The boy continued to be happy. Naruto could have pointed out as he was now, he could graduate from the academy by the end of the year. But he knew for certain that the Sandaime wouldn't permit it. Even his mother would snap if he thought of leaving the academy. Kushina, Fugaku said, his tone mildly curious. I hear your clan is going to be restored, or at least you're going to make an attempt to do so. All eyes turned towards the Uzumaki woman, who had a small smile on her face. It was kind of a smile Naruto had never seen on her. No, she just reserved it for when she thinks fondly of their clan. At least he reasoned. It was likely the case nevertheless. You belong to a clan? Sasuke asked, a raised brow, looking between Naruto and his mother. The only thing special about the two he knew was that they were the family of the late Yondaime Hokage. He wasn't aware Kushina was from a clan. Kushina nodded, her smile turning sad slightly. The Uzumaki clan, she simply said. Sasuke tilted his head, clearly not satisfied by the response. He has never heard of anything about that. He reasoned that it could have something to do with the fact that Naruto was a Jinchuriki and the fact that he was the son of the Yondaime Hokage. They were a prestigious clan who resided in their village called the village hidden in whirlpools. They were blood relatives of the Senju clan and had a healthy relationship with the clan. That relationship extended to Konoha. The Shodai Hokage's wife was from the whirlpools, an Uzumaki woman. Kushina here once lived there before coming here, Mikoto explained. You say, were. Mikoto nodded but didn't explain, Kushina did. My clan was peace-loving. We never took part in the shinobi wars despite being allies of Konoha, which was always in the center stage of the wars. Despite this, my clan was known throughout for possessing strong chakra, a strong life force, and most of all, we were masters of fuinjutsu. Minato is renowned for his use in fuinjutsu. I was in fact the one who taught him a couple of things. Unfortunately, my clan grew too powerful, and the fact that we never participated in wars meant that our shinobi kept growing. During the Second Shinobi World War, a combined army of Kiri and Kumo attacked us. The clan was wiped out. I only survived because by that time, I had already transferred here in Konoha. So, the blonde was not only smart, a Jinchuriki, but he was from a clan as well. If two villages had to combine their forces in order to fight them, then they had to be powerful. Naturally, Sasuke didn't dare think that the Uzumaki could be a match for the Uchiha. Still, to think that Naruto's clan was able to survive in a village of its own and grow so powerful that other villages felt threatened was something else. He may not know much about the clan, but at this moment, decided that the Uzumaki were worthy of respect. So you're not clanless, Sasuke remarked, with a small smirk, eyes firmly at the blonde. No, Naruto said, feeling threatened already. The blonde asked with a raised brow. Sasuke scoffed, by who? There are just the two of you. You're far away from threatening the Uchiha. Something clicked in Sasuke's mind. Is why you wish for the clan to be restored? Yes, Kushina said with a nod. I still believe that there might be survivors out there. Hopefully, when Naru-chan grows up he will find them, right, Naru-chan? It was a conversation they once held, and he had promised to bring the family back together. Naruto knew that his mother has other reasons for wanting the clan to be restored. He could make a few guesses. But it didn't matter because he would do anything to make his mother was happy. Of course, mother. The Uzumaki clan will be restored to its former glory, Naruto said, looking straight at his mother. Uncharacteristically, he wore a rather serious expression. It was a bit out of character because he always preferred a smile when addressing his mother. Kushina merely smiled at her son, before looking back at Fugaku who was continuing from where he had left off. You do know the political consequences for this, how it will affect young Naruto. Kushina nodded. The Sandaime explained everything to me. In fact, it was his idea. Fugaku noted that Naruto hadn't smiled when Kushina said those words. The Uchiha head smiled inwardly. He really wished the boy was his son. Really. He must know the Sandaime's motives for proposing such an idea, Fugaku thought. Naruto had no attachment to Konoha other than his mother. If something were to happen to the woman, the blonde would leave the village. No doubt about that. He reasoned the Sandaime realized the only way to tie down both mother and son, was to give something the mother wanted. Naturally, Naruto would follow his mother's lead, and judging by the look on the blonde's face, Fugaku could say it was going to work. What a sly old man the Sandaime was. Kushina probably accepted it because she believed it would create a family for Naruto, give him a healthy environment. Fugaku didn't believe for a second that Kushina wasn't aware that the Sandaime had other motives. Still, Naruto read underneath quite well for his age. Fugaku suppressed the urge to laugh because he knew that even Naruto twisted the third's hand, by using his love for him to get what he wanted. The two obviously cared for each other, but were not above manipulating each other. It was a rather unique situation. I see, Fugaku said. If there is anything you need, talk to me. Mito was an Uzumaki. Since no one is here to claim the Senju compound, I figure you may be in Poe's position to inherit everything. Naturally, you will be faced with opposition. The Uchiha head rose from his head. Itachi, come to the police force HQ when you're done. That said, the man disappeared. Hi, father, the Uchiha prodigy said monotonously. Naruto gave the Uchiha a glance, but said nothing. The rest of the dinner went along silently well. A week later. Kushina always enjoyed the sweet moments she spent with her son, especially when it was like this, enjoying a meal in their house. Soon to be ex-house. She liked the Uchihas, they were family, but this was real family. The only part of the family that was missing was Minato. He wasn't here with them. How she wished he could be here for them, give them one of his stupid smiles. For so often Kushina has allowed her loss to get the best of her, she has allowed it to get a hold of her emotions and led her into a fit of tears. It shouldn't be like that. It was even more troubling when she had to rely on her Naruto for comfort. It bothered her that he had stopped crying just to be strong for her. She hated her weakness. Naruto has always been strong. It reminded her of when she was younger. She was always strong, always dealing with her problems head on. She smacked any problem she faced to a pulp. But what had become of her? Mikoto was right, she wasn't like her old self. She should be the one comforting Naruto, not the other way around. Still, Kushina was proud that she had a son so strong mentally. He didn't allow for anyone to push him around. Kushina smiled sadly, looking over the table, where Naruto was seated, enjoying his dinner. She looked up as his eyes met with hers. He gave her a curious glance. His lips parted as if he wanted to say something, but he shut them. Kushina assumed the curious gaze was summoned because of her sad smile. Such a sweet child, always worried about his mother. I'm sorry, Naruto. I haven't been the best of mothers. It is a little embarrassing to think that I have to cuddle up with my 7-year-old son in my moments of weakness. Kushina's sad smile turned into a nervous one, she complimented it with a nervous chuckle. If she hadn't been eating, she would have scratched the back of her head. Naruto shook his head, a bit firmly. You have been the best mother. I couldn't ask for more in what you have given me. His response was just as firm as the shaking of his head. You wouldn't ask even if there was something you needed, Naruto, Kushina said, her smile all sad again. Naruto didn't refute that. He knew she was right. Thank you for speaking to Mikoto, and thank you for being such a wonderful son. Naruto smiled at his mother, eyes brightened a bit, his tone laced with some of happiness. I do what I can, he said before adding. But it wasn't my idea to speak to Mikoto. It was Itachi's. Kushina didn't find that surprising. Not the least. I guess I will thank him as well. But it is your thought that counts the most. Honestly, you act like the adult sometimes. I should have been the one comforting you when you were crying. It is not a sign of weakness, mother. You have always protected me from the villagers who tried something on me. You have been a mother, my protector. The battle against the villagers is one I couldn't win, but you were strong for me when I couldn't do anything, Naruto said, with a small smile. I don't know what it feels like, but you lost someone who became your friend when you were still at the academy. You lost a part of you. I can't replace that. Being there for you as you have been for me is what I can do. Our bond only grows stronger when we rely on each. How far her child has grown. Kushina wished Minato was here. But that was just a wish. This was the reality. It was just the two of them. Regardless, the day you feel like crying, no matter how old you're, come to me. As your mother, I will comfort you, Kushina said in a motherly tone. Naruto nodded with a warm smile that was only reserved for his mother. I will remember that, he said. If you keep like this, you will make a girl happy one day, Kushina said, smiling as she did. I wish you were like this with Ino-chan as well. Naruto suppressed the urge to frown. He didn't think about girls. Showing a bit of his warmer side to Ino was something he wasn't willing to do. He wasn't an emotionless zombie. He just felt only his mother deserved his kindness. Then again, Ino has been always there. Even now at the academy. That was the thought that wanted him to frown. If his reasoning was that only his mother deserved his warmer smile, then at least Ino deserved something as well. He may have been the one to be bailing her out on a regular basis, but then in her own way, she was always been supportive. Though he may never admit it to her, she was one of those people who helped him keep his faith and hope in humans being capable doing what was right, being able to change and do things without expecting something in return. She forces me into talking more often than I like, Naruto said of Ino. Kushina actually smiled at this. That is more like Ino, she said. I might even encourage her to drag you out for something to eat like she did last time. You wouldn't do that, would you? Ino is a smart girl, but when it was just the two of us eating, I regretted agreeing to go with her in the first place. I don't want to go through that hell again. Kushina merely chuckled and waved off her son. At least she can force you to do what you don't want. Regardless, it's good for you and I am really happy that you can hang out with someone your age and just talk about random stuff. I am really happy. Naruto had to contain himself from frowning. He just nodded with a smile, a small smile. To keep himself from being a two-faced hypocrite, he had to try. He'd told Temari about working around their issue, try to get used to it, they were still young and would eventually grow familiar with each other. Damn his mouth. He had to once again apply those words. A few nights later. To think that things would come to this. Itachi shook his head. It had to be done, he told himself. He had listened well to Naruto's thoughts, the blonde was willing to do anything to protect that which he loved the most, anything. He had told himself that there was nothing wrong with it. Naruto had spoken with conviction and Itachi had no doubt the blonde would follow up to that conviction. He also knew that Naruto would understand his situation. For this reason, Itachi stood atop of Naruto's house in the middle of the night with the blonde beside him. So nothing has solved the matter, Naruto said, in a seated position, his legs folded, head cocked to the side, not looking at anything in particular, but at the empty space ahead of him. Itachi shook his head. My mission to Kiri was to prove whether it was indeed true that the Yondai Mizukage was being manipulated by the Sharingan. That proved to be true, and it was the masked man doing it. The Uchiha paused for a moment, studying the blonde, who was now looking at him with an expressionless mask. I see, was all Naruto said. The revelation did no good with the elders. They believed that the Uchiha were behind it, and in turn my clan decided to push the coup d'etat ahead of schedule. My father would have ultimately used you, technically the Kyuubi, to gain more power in his fight, Itachi said. Danzo ordered me to rid of the clan before they initiate their plan. If the coup d'etat were to occur, with the Kyuubi likely to be released, it would further make me miserable and likely put my mother in danger, Naruto said. I assume the Sandaime isn't aware of this. Itachi shook his head. He still believes they can talk things out, he said. He then walked up to Naruto, kneeled before the blonde, his expression a number of emotions. I can't kill Sasuke. I can't do it. Please Naruto, watch over him for me. I know this will deal a major blow on his mind, I need you to take care of him. Itachi was pleading, almost begging. The request did nothing but cause Naruto to frown. I guess I owe you that much. But if he becomes a problem to my mother, I will deal with him painfully. If he does anything that will risk her safety, I will kill him with my own hands. Itachi just nodded. That was the best he could get out of Naruto. But just to be safe, he would speak to the Sandaime after the mission. Why kill everyone though? Danzo believes it is necessary, or else they will revolt at a later stage. Naruto frowned. Itachi, your objective is to stop a coup d'etat from occurring. There are innocent families and children who know nothing about the coup, are you going to kill them too? If yes, better just warn me when the coup will occur so I can leave this village with my mother so we don't get caught up. Itachi didn't let his emotions show. If I don't do it, Danzo will. I would rather they die honorably by my blade. Naruto stood up. If you kill everyone, Sasuke will lose it. He will become something uncontrollable and I will kill him before the year ends. You know how gullible he is. My mother will be affected by Mikoto's death as well. She can't afford to lose a true friend. He turned away from the Uchiha. My mother will be left broken. Should that happen, I will kill Sasuke, and hunt you for the rest of your life. I don't particularly care for them, but Itachi, think about what you're doing carefully. You care for Konoha, and Sasuke. Killing everything will lead to Sasuke's death. You know I will kill him if my mother is wounded. I imagine for you to avoid that, you'd have to kill me as well. But my death will mean the release of the Kyuubi. Ultimately that will see Konoha seeing another rampage. Itachi narrowed his eyes. What are you saying? I understand that you want to protect Konoha. Killing only those who can harm Konoha is the best choice for Konoha, Sasuke and me. Look at it, you avoid a coup d'etat, and your mother gets to rebuild the clan anew, while being there for Sasuke to ensure that he doesn't fall into the wrong path. I'm sure you can save your people from Danzo. If you don't want that, we have a problem because I must also protect what I love. Your options are simple. Kill only those who are threatening Konoha, and we will get along. Kill everyone else, and leave Sasuke, which in turn will hurt my mother. In response, I will hurt you by killing Sasuke and hunt you down. To avoid that happening, you'd have to kill me as well. However, I will not stand for that to happen. I will even go as far as to let the Kyuubi out to protect myself. Your mother will still be in danger if you do that, Itachi pointed out. Naruto shook his head. My mother can restrain the Kyuubi. In its current form, it wouldn't be difficult. Mind you, she once was a former host, and she is a seal master. Her clan developed Beiyu sealing techniques. Itachi frowned knowing that Naruto was right. The choice is yours, Itachi. That said, Naruto started to walk away. Even with my mother alive, will you look after Sasuke? Take him as your brother. Itachi called out, considering his options. Not for a second did he doubt Naruto's words. The blonde was willing to do anything possible and impossible to protect what he loved the most. He was willing to do that as well. So he could understand. With your mother alive, my mother will not suffer. I can manage your foolish brother. I owe it to you at least for everything you've done for me. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.